Last week, I decided to get off social media for a while. I wanted to see how addicted I really was and how a detox might affect me, sort of like a little experiment. So that's exactly what I just did, and here's what I learned. Hey guys, Faisal here and welcome back to another video. I realised that I haven't actually introduced myself on this channel for a while, so if you're new here, my name's Faisal. I'm an academic junior doctor working in the NHS, and on the side I write self-help articles and create videos like these. So I just started my 7-day social media detox, and if you want to know the reasons why I started it, I will leave a link in the description to my previous video. But in short, I spent a lot of time on social media, several hours a day in fact, and I realised that only a small proportion of that time is actually useful for me because I'm mainly just refreshing the feed, sending memes to people, receiving memes. Yeah, that's about it. So I wanted to know, how would this affect me if I were to just stop for a week? Okay, so I went offline yesterday, which was Wednesday evening, and today is Thursday. It's my first full day without social media, and I've got until next Thursday to basically just get on with life without it. And up until that point, I've got the majority of the week off, except for Tuesday and Wednesday where I'm expected to be at work. So from my phone, I only deleted Instagram and Twitter. Those are the only two that I still have on my phone. So Instagram by far is the biggest culprit for me. I spend maybe 2 to 3 hours or more on there. Twitter, I've been using more and more over the last year. I feel like most people with Twitter, like they use it for the first time, they don't really get it. They come back a couple years later and then suddenly they're hooked. On my laptop, I removed Facebook and LinkedIn from my browser extension toolbar thingy, and also I'm going to download a tool tonight which will basically allow me to block those websites and even redirect me to another website that I've chosen. So I'm going to have a play around with them. I have a few in mind, but I haven't actually done that yet. So it's Friday today. I know I was supposed to update you guys every single day, but yesterday I just felt super tired, and I think yesterday and today it's basically been the same. And the most obvious difference I've noticed is that there's just this massive void of free time where social media used to be. And what I've noticed about those little pockets of silence that just occur throughout the day is that I would instinctively pick up my phone and scroll through social media like Instagram or Twitter just to fill those moments of silence. And now that I can't do that, it feels as if I'm just left to face that silence. And so many times now I've caught myself just sitting around daydreaming more than I usually would, and it just feels very weird. Also, when I talk about this noise going on, I don't just mean the outside world, I also mean the noise inside my head. For anyone that works, you might understand the feeling of unplugging from the noise when you get home. Well, at least I hope you do. For example, when I'm at the hospital, I find it difficult to relax or do any personal work just because I have this underlying anxiety that at any moment a random task could just pop up. So personally, I don't think you can really switch off. You're always on alert to a certain extent. But when I get home, I know that nothing's gonna pop up. I can switch off much more easily and I can just get on with my work. So similarly, it feels like when you delete social media, you're just unplugging yourself from all the noise that's going on in the world. News, drama, gossip, it feels like you've just put it all on mute. And the best way I can kind of describe it is as if, like, if you imagine social media being a portal for the world's noise to just get into your life. And so when you delete social media, it kind of feels as though you've shut off that portal, so you don't really have to worry about that disturbance again. And the best thing is that if there's something really important that I should probably know about, then my friends or my family will probably tell me about it. And if somebody needs to personally contact me, then they can just email me, call me, or text me. So I think now I realize that you don't really need to be reliant on social media just to receive all that necessary information. Also, I realize that I'm barely on my phone as a whole now. Like, when I look at it, I just think to myself, there's no social media, so what's the point? Like, if you think about it, without social media on your phone, is there anything really addictive left on there? Anyways, that's about it for what I've noticed in the first couple of days. Otherwise, so far, I haven't been very productive at all. I've actually wasted probably most of the last few days. I did, however, manage to get started on a new section of my website where I'll be doing book summaries and sort of putting up my favorite quotes and associated notes and stuff. So that's coming together really nicely. So if that happens to be up by the time I publish this video, then I'll probably be showing it to you right now. But yeah, that's about it. Catch up with you guys tomorrow. Hey guys, so it's Sunday. I'm just coming to the end of day 4. And to be honest with you guys, I'm actually really starting to miss social media. I think that's mainly because most of us are just kind of like stuck inside. I mean, I get to go to the hospital and meet other people, but for the most part, all of my friends, you know, outside of work, the only way I can really keep in touch with them is via social media. I mean, they can call me and I can call them back and stuff like that, but the pictures that they share, the videos that they share is all a very nice kind of like passive way of just keeping up with what everyone else is doing. Also, I realized something else. The other day when I told you that I didn't feel as productive as when I was using social media, I think that's partly because on a day where I am using social media, let's say for example, I'm awake for 16 hours and I'm on social media for 4 out of those 16 hours. But now, for example, if I'm still awake for 16 hours and I don't have that 4 hours hours of social media usage, my brain might trick me into thinking I was only 80% productive or 70% productive because I wasn't busy all of the time. Whereas in reality, I've probably achieved the same amount of work in a day, but now I've got an extra few hours to spend on other things, maybe even be more productive, enjoy the company of others, etc. But yeah, that's about it. Those are pretty much the new insights I've been thinking about to share with you guys. Tomorrow is Monday, it's my last day off, and then I've got Tuesday and Wednesday where I'm working, so I'll probably speak to you guys after those 3 days. Hey guys, so I've just finished the 7-day social media detox. Day 5 was pretty similar to the previous days, but day 6 and 7 I was actually at work. So I was at work from 8 AM to 6 PM, and obviously in that time I was mostly doing jobs, so I didn't really have the option of using social media. However, I did have some time to use it during my breaks and lunchtime, so let me tell you how that went. Firstly, during lunch there's always an element of me pulling out my phone at some point and basically just scrolling through social media just to catch up. That happens even if I'm in the middle of a conversation with someone, if somebody's sitting right next to me. At some point, if it goes quiet, we both take out our phones and we basically go through social media. Like, it's just a normal thing to do now. However, on one of those days, I ended up having a really nice conversation with one of my colleagues, and we didn't pull out our phones at any point during the conversation. Now, this isn't new for me. It's not like I don't usually speak to people or I just seclude myself in the corner on my phone. But what it made me think was that during our lunch breaks or regular breaks, we might think to ourselves, what would make me most comfortable? What would I most be comfortable doing right now? And of course, a lot of us like to be social. We like to catch up on what other people are doing, but we have two options: either do it in person with people in front of us, or do it via our screens. And I think it's just come to a point where a lot of us actually just prefer to be behind a screen and communicate with other people that way instead of doing it in real life in front of each other. And it's kind of sad because talking to other people is a very normal, natural thing. But if we're starting to become more comfortable with social media rather than making real human connections, we're just going to replace real life interactions with more simulated ones. Anyways, at the end of the 7 days, I ended up coming back to a lot of new messages. And the weirdest thing for me was that a couple of people had actually reached out during that 7-day detox to ask me if everything was actually okay. Because in their heads, maybe I was struggling with my mental health or I was running away from a problem. And other people had messaged me straight after I had initially cut off my social media, saying that you're definitely gonna fail. And it made me think, like, when did it become so abnormal or weird to be off these apps? To the point where if somebody is off them, then you think something's up with them. Isn't that kind of sad? Anyways, moving on to how I'm going to be using social media moving forward. Number 1 is that I'm going to be regularly deleting and re-downloading my apps. Now that I know that deleting them actually helps me get off my phone for long periods of time, if there ever comes a week or month where I've got a lot of work to do and I just can't risk wasting that time on social media, I'm just going to delete them. The main reason that works is that if you pick up your phone and you want to go on that social media, number 1, it's not going to be there, so you're going to remind yourself of why you deleted it in the first place. And secondly, there's more friction for you to re-download it and then use it, so you're more likely to just give up on it. And a pro tip is that when you re-download the app, try not to reorganize it back on the home screen where it usually is. Try and just leave it wherever it just sort of goes, and the more random the place, the better. Because if you keep putting the app on the same place on your home screen, you're just building up the muscle memory to make it easier to go on it. Number 2 is that I'm going to try and experiment using my social media more on my laptop, specifically in the evening. Now, this may sound counterintuitive to be using social media on your laptop where you're supposed to be more productive, but at the same time I feel like social media, especially like things like Instagram, are a much more addictive experience when on the phone than on a laptop. Plus, I'm probably going to set certain time periods using applications that only allow me to access that social media at a certain time in the evening. Number 3 is that I turned off notifications for all my social media apps. I actually had a lot of my social media notifications turned on with a do not disturb function applied, which originally I thought was a good idea, but now I realized it's not. And that may have actually made me check my phone even more regularly, because without my phone telling me that there's a new notification, I'm gonna keep going to it every half an hour, every 20 minutes, every 5 minutes, anticipating a new notification. So those are some of the things that I'm going to apply moving forward. I'm probably going to do a longer detox and maybe even come up with a more sustainable plan to get myself off my phone in the future. But this 7-day detox has given me a lot to think about. Already, I've actually checked that my average time spent on Instagram daily since then has been about 20 minutes compared to just over 2 hours beforehand. Whether or not I'm able to keep that up in the future, only time will tell. So if you see me on Instagram for 10 hours in a day, just please DM me and tell me to get off. At the end of the day, I don't want to be off these platforms, especially as a creator. And so there has to be an element of balance, and I think that's what I'm working towards. For those of you who reached out to me and told me that they'd be joining me in the challenge, please let me know in the comments below how it went and if you picked up any tips and tricks that actually helped you. If you've gotten this far, please take a moment to like the video. I'd really appreciate it. and subscribe if you want to, but you don't have to. I also wrote a recent article on the book by Jaron Lanier that I've mentioned a lot, called 10 Arguments to Delete Your Social Media Accounts Right Now. And I've also shared a lot of my favorite book quotes from the book on my website, so I'll leave a link for that in the description below. Anyways, I will see you in the next video. Bye.